huge emotion. And look, he performed again and got the winning goal last night, which is fantastic. But I mean, credit to him, because it's a difficult moment for him and people of Ukraine to even be able to face up to it and come out and play, football is remarkable.
The football side of things, Owen, could this be a defining moment in his West Ham career? Can he use this to kick on?
Well, he's a fabulous player. He's always been a fabulous player. Great technician. You probably wouldn't have put Andriy, Yarmolenko and David Moyes together in terms of styles, but he works. And obviously with Jared Bowen out, obviously that's a huge blow to them. He's amazing for them. So I think with Bowen being out injured, Yarmolenko's come in and played a huge role, obviously against Aston Villa and again yesterday. So I think I love to see the players' reaction when they go up to him, obviously against Villa and even yesterday. They're a big family, and they're all trying to support him. What he's having to deal with off the pitch is just uncharted territory. And I just think it just shows the football community's there for him, and he's producing. It's been difficult for him after that leave of absence, but two huge performances from him in the last two games.
I think as a player, I think he's been a little bit disappointing at West Ham, because I'm with Owen, and he's a fabulously talented player. What they tell me at West Ham, by the way, is that he gets on really well with Souček and Koufal, and they've got an incredible work ethic. He gets on really well with Souček and Koufal, and they've got an incredible work ethic, those two. I mean, they're always there. They're the first in the training, last out, always in the gym. And they've kind of encouraged him to sort of follow those two a little bit more. So I think and David Moyes obviously wants his players to work incredibly hard. I think Yarmolenko's talent sometimes has meant he hasn't always applied it in the most hard-working way at times. So, but I think he's definitely trying to do more of that with those players now. And I'm slightly disappointed that he hasn't played more regularly anyway for West Ham because of how talented he is.
I was adding on that. I was going to say you've seen in the last two games, and in particular last night, in 180 minutes into the game, and he's working his socks off to try and win the ball back. I think his work ethic. I think look, he's talented, but he's inconsistent, isn't he? He's a player that technical players they only like it when they've got the ball, and often they don't show the work rate away from that. He showed that in the last two games, and maybe it is Souček that's a really handful fell that has helped him in that.
Koufal have sort of teamed up as this little sort of gym bunnies, and obviously he goes and works with them.
I tell you what, I watched the game after, and he took his shirt off and threw it into the crowd to somebody, and he looked like a boxer. I couldn't believe I've never seen a Flair player be that ripped. So he must have been in the gym a lot with those boys. They're rubbing off on him.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, same here, Farah. Same. Let's talk about Spurs now, because Jason pointed out that bizarre run of form, that flip-flopping between winning and losing. So how do they break that? It seems bizarre almost, Owen, that they have Kane and Son, the best partnership in Premier League history, and yet they can't seem to string together a set of wins.
Yeah, but what else have they got?
Exactly.
Tools. I mean, if they don't, and to be fair, they played really well at Old Trafford. Yeah, he's great. He's amazing, but he's not out on the pitch. They need Conte when he played, because he was a fabulous player, by the way. But I thought they played great at Old Trafford, but Kane and Son were a tiny, tiny bit off it. They had so much of the ball. They dominated the game, and they should have won. But they were a tiny bit off it, and if they are, they lose. So I think for Conte, I mean, think about it. They lost to Middlesbrough, and they lost to Burnley. I mean, that you're not losing to the top teams. You're losing to teams you should beat comfortably. So I love Conte. I think he's just what Spurs need. But if the boys don't buy in, they'll be playing somewhere else next year. And I just think he needs more people in the mould of Kane and Son. It needs a little bit more flair. I like Kulusevski. I think he gives them something different. I like Bentancur. I think he gives them something. But I think the big place he's got to fix in the summer is the defence. Romero, I think, is a great addition to that side. But they need a little bit more. And I think that's where they'll have some surgery.
Do you think that's the key problem there as well, Farah? Is it just fixing that defence, and then Tottenham might be a bit more consistent?
I certainly think the defence need fixing. I think the midfield. I think Højbjerg, I don't think they have enough in there. There's not enough creative in that midfield for Son and Kane. And as you mentioned, when they're off of it, it's very difficult for Tottenham to get any success in any game. So if they're slightly off their game, Kane and Son, where else are you seeing goals come from or chances being created from? I don't see it in the Spurs midfield either. But likewise at the back, they're weak at the back, and Dyer, overly keen and Dyer at the back, in a back two, especially in a back three, he's a little bit more comfortable. He's got people alongside him, but in a two, I think he gets exposed.
After the January window closed, Jason, there was quite a lot of optimism around this Tottenham side after the signings they made, and because Antonio Conte had recently been appointed as well. So why has it not gone quite to plan?
Well, you can see how frustrated he is with that, because he's probably asking himself exactly the same question, isn't he? We saw obviously a few weeks ago when he was basically putting out that he might be on his way, and then he changes. Actually, to be fair, he's showing his inconsistency, the way he's talked, mirrors the team. So I think it all needs to settle down. It's all far too volatile, and he's up and down, and he's up and down, and they're up and down, and they're up and down. So I think it just reflects a kind of sense of, not unhappiness, but a little bit of confusion at Tottenham. I think they really need to sort of settle down and work out what they're going to do. Are they going to stick with, or is this manager going to stick with them, by the way? Not that they'd love him to stay. Is he going to stick with them? And if he's going to stick with them, what are they going to do? Is it the time to sell Harry Kane and then use that money? Is it the time to try and invest more in the team? What are we going to do with some of these players? Because I agree with the guys, and that you look beyond Kane and Son and maybe Romero and what is there? What really is there? There's nothing really in that midfield that you're going to hang your hat on, is there? And obviously, Kulusevski's on there and Bentancur's gone there. But, they need so much more. So I think they've got to make a decision as to what to do. But I think his volatility is reflected in the team. And I think if I was Tottenham, I'd be sitting down with him and saying, what are we going to do here? Are we going to stay with you? Are you going to stay with us? And that might calm everything down a little bit.
Does Harry Kane's future at the club depend on whether or not Tottenham get that Champions League spot?
I think he'll want to jump ship in the summer. I mean, personally, I just think being 28, he's a fabulous player, a great player, probably an iconic, maybe even the greatest ever goal scorer in the Premier League. But to be an iconic guy, you got to win a little bit. You got to win something, And I think that's what he wants now. I think he wants to win. I think he deserves to win something. If Spurs can't put a project around him, around Kane and Son, then he should look elsewhere. I think there's been rumours of false promises and different things. Conte's the same. I like it. Conte's putting Daniel Levy under pressure, saying, if you don't spend the money, I'm out of here. Because obviously that's why he left Inter. He wants a team around him. He's a winner. He don't want to sit there and finish 4th and 5th. And I think Kane's in the same boat. At 28, he wants to see progression. Top 4, 5th, 6th. That's not enough for a guy like Harry Kane. He wants to win a trophy. And it's a great point. Do you sell Kane and then reinvest the money? But the problem is they need a lot. They need a lot of work. So it'll be an interesting summer at Tottenham.
Okay, in one team name, who finishes higher out of these two? Farah, you can go first.
Tottenham.
Tottenham higher?
Yeah,
Jason?
Yeah.
I think it's Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham.
Tottenham. They got a game in hand.
Yeah.
I think they'll get the job done. I think West Ham, they're going to try and win the Europa League.
It wasn't one team name. But thanks anyway. I appreciate the detail.